I want to bring in now Barbara Doran, CIO of BD8 Capital Partners. Just your overall thoughts on the market, particularly as we head into the second half of the year.
Yeah, Charles, I think that's the question on everybody's mind since we've had such a big run. But I think that what we've been seeing is a big catch-up in the market because earnings have been so strong. You saw what happened in the first quarter. They were more than double what was expected. And forward guidance and earnings for the year have come up dramatically, over 25%. So 11 of the last 12 weeks have been positive for the S&P as they catch up to those earnings estimates. Even with inflation creeping up, I think the market is assuming somehow the Iranian situation will be settled. Oil, as you saw, has already come down from 100. Very quickly in the 70s. You know, and I think that there's other inflation things, but it doesn't look like inflation is going to be embedded. However, you're seeing what's happening. The betting is that there will be at least one hike before year end, and some people are saying
I'm betting against it, though. I'm betting against it. What Kevin Warsh did with those, I don't think people understand what he did with these work groups, these 5 groups. He's going to rewrite the rule book that will allow him to be accommodative in 2027. In the meantime, I think he'll have enough ammo that when they hiked up inflation expectations, that was their fatal flaw for the Hawks. Because we're going to come in slightly below that, and that would be the excuse not to hike. At least that's my theory. Let's talk about the markets for a moment. I got to ask you about Micron. I've already started the show off saying this will set the tone for the summer, I think. It's trading with a PE ratio of 9.8, right? So it's still cheap. In fact, one firm last week said they're going to double their earnings and the stock will actually be cheaper.
Yeah, no, I think that's right because Micron, when you see a stock that's up over 300% year to date, 850+% in 1 year, you go, well, wait a minute, it's for a pullback. But what's very different this time, Micron has always been cyclical. You know, it's been a boom and bust, and so the PE would be low, right? But this time, it's very interesting. Demand is really exceeding supply. Anything in your last guest talked about why she's invested in the capital equipment companies. It's going to take till at least the end of 27 to get that supply on. Meanwhile, demand is accelerating. So they've got pricing power. And so I think this stock could really go to a 14, 16 PE, and that means a lot more upside on this stock from here.
A lot more upside. I mean, as hard as it is to believe, you got to let the numbers guide you. I know Apple's a stock you like. There was a downgrade. I'm not sure of this firm. I think it's KGI. I don't even, just any downgrade of Apple gets my attention. The chart looks pretty good here. But they also, because of these DRAM prices, though, maybe their margins may get squeezed a little bit?
Yeah, they could. They've talked about they're going to try to raise prices, and as you know, they have their customers are pretty price insensitive, and that's because of this whole ecosystem with hardware and software and services. And of course, services are increasing, that's higher margin, but we'll see. But they are having to absorb, like a lot of people, having to absorb higher prices. So it could squeeze their margins a bit. Right. But as you know, they're having a blowout, replacement cycle with the 17, best in their history, and that's still going. In fact, right now, the Series 17 worldwide is #1. And you had an update at their annual convention about Siri, and that's going to be much improved starting in the fall.
You think so? You believe?
I'm waiting.
Okay, we'll see. GEV, you like this? Now, listen, full disclosure, I've been in this person, my own account, for 3 or 4 years, but what I find remarkable is that, I'm like, okay, what's going on? You can see how it was coming down, folks, here a little bit. But look here on the right to this chart. This is just the last couple of days. It's gone from 870 to 1100 in a blink of an eye. I mean, you just have to be in this name, right?
Yeah, you do. Because, what happened, you saw a few weeks ago, all the momentum names got crushed, right? Suddenly it's like, oh, we've got to get, whatever reason, SpaceX, free up capital. And this was one of them. So the stock is up almost 30% in those 2 weeks because it's expensive. I mean, it's
amazing,
a 62 PE, right? Yeah. But you look at the revenue coming in, the growth rate there in the earnings. And it's one of those things, you want to own. If you want to buy it here, I'd say take a little position. And the market is giving plenty of opportunities, for a pullback.
I know the infamous buy it on a dip.
Right.
By the way, there's only, 2 companies or 3 that make these turbines, right? Siemens and maybe one other.
Yeah.
I got 30 seconds, but I got to get your NVIDIA call here. Listen, it's just had a tough time. But,
I know.
But the company and the fundamentals have continued to improve in my mind.
Exactly, and that's what I mentioned. It's not an undiscovered name, hardly, but it keeps being penalized. Because of competition, people are making their own, et cetera, et cetera. But the stock right now in forward PE is 21 times, and they are still 50 to 70%, revenue and earnings growth for the next few years. And they just reported 130% growth in their revenues and earnings. So, this one, this was fallow for about 4 months, then it went to new highs. So it'll pull back. People are investing elsewhere. It will come back. Fundamentals will
By the way, folks, just like that GEV, sometimes you blink and next thing you know, NVIDIA is back at an all-time high.
You got it.
Great stuff, Barbara. Appreciate you.